Welcome to the Business Mechanics Show. This is your host, Vaughn Sigmund, co-founder of Results-Driven Leadership. You can visit us at rdltraining.com. That's Romeo Delta Lima Training.com. Check out all of our programs. Today, we're going to talk about a topic that has been coming up recently that I want to expound on a little bit. And is you don't get what you preach, you get what you tolerate. What does all that mean? Let me ask you a straight up question. What are you, as a manager, tolerating right now on your team, in your business, or maybe even yourself, that you know damn well is dragging down performance? Because here's the truth. You don't get what you preach, you get what you tolerate. And if you're letting standards slide even a little, you're not leading, you're babysitting. In today's episode, we're going to rip the lid off the silent killer of high-performance teams, tolerance of mediocrity. I'm going to show you how to spot it, fix it, and use it as the fuel to raise the bar and light a fire under your culture. And in fact, I'm going to include a tool in the show notes that you can download to check yourself. It's a coaching checklist for you to check yourself to see if you are in fact tolerating versus leading. By the end of this episode, you're going to have a tactical, no fluff plan to stop preaching and start enforcing. And trust me, this might be the wake-up call your team's been waiting for. Buckle up. This one's a game changer. If a manager is tolerating instead of leading, what does that look like? If they're avoiding accountability, how do I know? If you're ducking hard conversations or letting things slide, here's what starts to show up fast and loud in the business. One, and it may be one of these, it may be some of these, it may be all of these. So these aren't 100%, but here's a short list of ways you'll know. Number one, A players check out. Top performers won't stick around if they see you let underperformers skate by. Why should they bust their ass when slackers get a free pass? It's not fair. You're bleeding talent, you're bleeding productivity, and you're bleeding respect. And guess what's left? Yeah, that's why sometimes you call it adult babysitting or adult daycare. That's what you're setting up for yourself. Number two, deadlines. Well, when you set deadlines, are they getting treated as suggestions? Because if you're not holding people to what they're committed to, their projects get late, quality drops, and people stop talking timelines seriously. They'll get done eventually, which leads to your gray hair and frustration. It becomes the new standard. It's the mediocrity standard. It's the tolerance. And that is a slow death in business, and it drives a lot of additional work and stress onto you. You can cure this very quickly. And we're going to get to some of those shortly. Number three, excuses. When something doesn't get done, something doesn't get accomplished, are you getting blowback via the form of a ton of excuses? Because when accountability disappears, so does responsibility. People start blaming. They blame others. They blame the system. They blame the market. It's the tariffs. It's the competition. Things are just slow, boss. Or it's hard to find good people. Or we just didn't have everything we needed. But they don't blame themselves. They blame everything but themselves. You see, their ownership evaporates, and this victim mindset takes over, all created by tolerance. Number 4, standards slide across the board. Even the simple stuff, dress code, communication, treating each other with respect, response times, showing up for meetings unprepared. All that slips. Why? Because no one's reinforcing the expectation. When nobody, in this case probably you, calls it out, it becomes okay. You just approved it. And that creates a culture rot from within. Number 5, you spend your days putting out fires. I remember those days. Because if your people aren't owning their roles, guess who gets to clean it up? That's you. Managers who tolerate too much become professional firefighters. Slide down the pole, go put out the fire, go back and wait on the next fire. Is that your life? Are you constantly solving the same issues over and over instead of preventing them? You see, you should be into fire prevention, not fire fighting, and accountability. And ownership prevents fires. Number 6, passive-aggressive behavior. When there's no accountability, resentment brews. And this is like death by 1,000 cuts. It may not be obvious, but it starts compounding. You see, your high performers get fed up, and underperformers get defensive. And your team will stop talking openly and start talking around each other. Gossip goes up. Trust goes down. I have managers come to me on a regular basis. Can I just write a policy that stops gossip? No. You can't legislate that. But the culture you create will prevent that. Number 7, your coaching has no teeth. When you avoid enforcing consequences, your feedback becomes background noise. They will nod their head, agree with you, and then never do anything about it. Your people will stop listening because you've got no teeth. Because they know nothing's going to change. Nothing's going to happen to them. Look at that clown. He's been getting away with it for months. And you, my friend, lose credibility. You see, your team's looking to you to hold everybody accountable. Some people have a high level of self-accountability. They're self-driven. And that would make the world so much easier to manage. And those self-driven people are typically that top 20% of your employees who are the easiest to manage. Those are the ones you like the most because they get stuff done. It's everybody else we're talking about here. It requires you to be involved. You have to have some teeth. And number 8, if you got a sense that your morale has tanked, nothing kills motivation faster than watching someone not do their job and get away with it. Even when your most committed team members are starting to check out, that's a problem. Because they will start bringing everything down. Because they're your internal leaders. They're your internal ambassadors. They're setting the pace. You slow their pace, and they're going to slow everybody down. And the strange thing is your top performers get affected by the bottom performers. You don't mean to do that. You know it. I know it. But you're trying to be a nice person. And Yeah, it's okay to be liked, but it's better to be respected. All those signs, and it's not a complete list, but it's a pretty average list, that a manager has slipped from leading and accountability to tolerating. And the longer you let it go, the harder it becomes to turn the ship around because the culture has changed. It's the level of acceptance. And all of a sudden, you're going to make this 180, which is a jar to them. And you're going to be called names. And maybe it's worth it for a little while until you get it turned around, but it won't. None of this is a quick fix. I've seen it 1,000 times. Let me hit you with a hard truth right out of the gate. Policies don't lead people. Leaders. Managers spend hours crafting the perfect set of policies. I mean, job descriptions and policies and SOPs, putting together these great looking glossy playbooks and having a big meeting, maybe even hang some laminated mission statements around the conference room or in the hallways. You treat it like that's the Holy Scripture. But you have to have disciples. You have to have ambassadors. But when the rubber meets the road, who's enforcing? Who's enforcing those standards? Has to be you. And even though you're doing all these things, which in the books should help support it, but your actions, your tolerance, your accountability dictates that. You can hang all those things in the world and you'll get crickets. Here's the deal. Words don't drive performance. Action does. Leadership doesn't live in a binder. It lives in the behaviors you tolerate every single day. And if you don't realize it, or you're starting to realize it, if you let the standard slide even once, you've approved it. You've told the entire team, you can get away with it. This isn't serious, which you've diluted the message. You've posted all these things on the wall, but they have no value. Your actions create that value. You inadvertently, and you don't do this on purpose, I know that. It's why you're listening to this podcast. You're trying to get better. But you've likely damaged morale by tolerating these things. You've opened the floodgates to mediocrity and extra work and stress and pressure on you. And now you've got a culture problem. It happens a lot. You're not alone if you experience this. And that's why you're trying to get some help. You're looking for resources to move from a manager to a leader. But when you've got a culture problem, that's not a them problem, that's a you problem. You got a culture problem that's created because of a void of leadership. It's negligence wearing a name tag. How do I fix it? Standards must be the ground you stand on. This is the battle you must fight. And if you would allow it to go on for a while, you're going to have to rip the Band-Aid off and get back on a better track, on the right track. Let me break it down for you. Every winning team, whether it's business, sports, the military, has one thing in common: clear, non-negotiable standards. Standards create alignment. They tell people, this is how we show up, this is what we do, and this is how we will win. And here's the key. And just in case you're a little intimidated by this, I'm getting ready to give you some good news, because standards should be simple, crystal clear, simple. No room for interpretation. If your team has to guess what great looks like, you're already losing. You're behind the eight ball. You want consistency? You want results? Then you need a very clear definition of success. They need to be able to come to work and know what a great day looks like. And at the end of the day, they need to know whether they had a great day. Clear, defined standards of success that everybody understands and agrees to. But most importantly, you need someone who enforces those standards like their life depends on it. And that someone is you. Because when standards slip, culture cracks. The second you let that one team member slide, oh, they'll get better. It was just having a bad day. You let that one team member slide because they're usually good, or you ignore that one minor miss because you're too tired to deal with it, or you don't want to be the bad guy. Guess what just happened? Yeah, you told the entire team that the standard's flexible. Depends on the day of the week. Depends on how I feel. You just showed them your words mean nothing unless they're convenient or they feel good. Trust me, the team notices. The A players see you tolerating the B players. The people who bust their ass every day now wonder why they bother. The culture begins to rot from the inside out. However, it doesn't happen all in a day. That doesn't happen all at once, not in a moment, but when it happens fast. This is how winning cultures die, not for some major blowout, but from quiet, subtle tolerance. Leadership, if you're wanting to move from a manager to a leader, again, I believe that's why you're here today. Understand leadership is what you enforce. Here's the shift. Leadership is not about being liked. It's not about giving motivational speeches or high-fiving your team and being raw. It's about enforcing the standards even when it's uncomfortable, especially when it's uncomfortable. You have to do the hard stuff. Now, somebody saying, I just have to be a hard ass all the time. I'm not a hard ass. Don't confuse this with punishment. If you do this right, it'll never seem like punishment. It will never seem like micromanagement because it's the standard. It's how we do things. This isn't about chewing people out or playing the corporate cop. This is about ownership. Ownership of the mission, ownership of the results, and ownership of your role in making sure everyone rises to the standard you've set and everybody understands clearly. And don't miss that this includes you. You have to walk the talk. Let's be real. The hardest place to enforce a standard is with yourself. They're watching you. You've got to set the pace. They're judging you. Like that documentary film crew, they watch, they hear, they see everything you're doing. You're always on stage. So you're going to have to ask yourself, where have I been slacking? What behaviors are you tolerating? What people are you tolerating? And what are you tolerating in your own performance that would never fly if it was someone else? Maybe it's not following up on time. Maybe it's changing meeting dates all the time. Maybe it's you're not living up to your expectations. Maybe you're disorganized. Maybe you change course of action on a regular basis. Maybe you change the standards based on the results you're getting, not the results you need. Maybe it's giving vague direction or blaming your team when they miss the mark. Maybe it's avoiding hard conversations. Whatever it is, you know it. And it's generally those hard conversations that's what's missing. And that's holding yourself accountable. It's holding yourself to the standard because great leaders are willing to have the hard conversations, the difficult conversations. And they're also willing to do a little bit more than they expect of anyone else. Set the example. So start with one thing. You don't need to go in guns blazing and flip the table over. No, this week. Start this week. Just find one place where the standard isn't being met by you or your team. Name it. Own it. Communicate it. Now let's start working on fixing it. And don't stop. This takes discipline. Don't stop until you're getting the results you expect, until you're getting high levels of execution. That is leadership in motion. That's how teams win. Not because of a speech, not because of your posters, not because of some email or policy, procedure, because they win because they have the guts to say, this isn't good enough. And then they did something about it. Humility. Discipline and humility. Two things you don't always think about when you think about becoming a highly successful leader, but humility builds authority. Let me tell you something. Most people in leadership roles never learn your authority is built on humility. You don't have to put on a face, an act. Be humble. Be honest with yourself. That breeds. That's a good virus for other people to catch. Because if you let something slip, own it. Tell your team, I missed the mark on this because you did. That's on me. Let them know you have their back. But they have to understand we're going to fix it, and we're going to fix it together. I allowed it to happen. Now help us get it fixed. And you'll be amazed at what happens when people see their leader who's willing to take the hit and raise the bar. People will start suddenly showing up differently. They'll work a little harder, not a lot harder. They care more. They're bringing you ideas. They're bringing you solutions. Because now it's real. They see, okay, we're really getting stuff done. Everybody's held to the same high standard. It means something now. Leadership starts with setting the tone, and that's from you. Leadership starts by setting the example. And that means holding the line, especially when it's uncomfortable, or it's inconvenient, or it's downright annoying. Why do I have to do this? Because you're the boss. That's why you have to do this. And if you're going to be a highly successful boss, you got to do the hard stuff. And that is how you build trust. That's how you build a great culture, a highly engaged workforce. That's how you win. And the bottom line, success doesn't come from what you say. It comes from what you tolerate. And it's so easy in our desire to be liked to let things slide. But when you let it slide even once, you've approved it. And often you've approved it too many times that where all of a sudden I've got to go do something about this. And now it's a big deal. Think about doing an enforcement of small increments. Don't tell your team what you value. Show them. Don't expect high performance if you're letting low standards slide even a little bit. Leadership is a full contact sport. It's not for the faint of heart. But if you're willing to hold the line, to live the standard you set, to own especially your part and enforce the mission, even if it doesn't feel right, that discomfort, we've talked about that before, that's growth. That's the only way it's going to get better. It will not fix itself. You've got to change, so it will change. And when you do that, when you start getting really good at that, your team will follow you through fire. So now get after it. Find the standards that's slipping and fix it. That's where real leadership begins.